What does that mean? If your why is big enough, the how will come.
Well, I think a lot of people don't take on their goals because they go, well, how could I ever make that happen? So that's what stops people in their tracks. And you just have to think, I really want to do this. And the energetic frequency is what makes things happen, not, the finite plans of this would happen and that would happen. Yeah.
So you decide to do it, basically. But if you try to sort of put it all down on paper and make it make sense, it may not make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I am a planner, so I love to put things down on paper. But just, when I think about what we've done here, it was so big. Like, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me and Jesse. And it's now bigger than us and all the network of people who think it's cool. And you just couldn't have, it was beyond our imagining. So you really couldn't have kind of spelled that all out. But if you're doing the right stuff, things amplify, and the energetic frequency just kind of takes you there. I mean, I have done stuff way less cool than this, and it's been really hard, not to say this hasn't been hard, it has, but just your emotional barometer says this is right, and I can keep going even when it's tough because it feels right. Whereas if you're not on path and you're doing what someone else thinks you should do, or what your mum thought you should do, or whatever it is, it's just hard and not passion fueled. It's a different grade of fuel, I think.
Ooh. That was really good. And that's the second time I've heard emotional barometer in one day. So sorry. What was the original germ of a vision?
The germ of a vision was, and I was saying it in secret at home, one day we should get like a really cool kind of warehousey kind of building, and we'll have a business downstairs and we'll live upstairs like a penthousey thing. It would just be really awesome, and it would be like a motivation academy, and we called it that at home for a long time, and we had no prospect of making it happen, but we were still talking about it. And an architect who I met through BNI came round to see about expanding our little house where we lived just a little bit, and she said, look, it's not really worth it, and you wouldn't need an architect for this, And I said to her, look, one day we're going to have this motivation academy, cool building thing, and when we get that, you should be our architect. And she was like, sure, that would be nice, And then was it 6 years later, I'm going, where the hell was her number, and I phone her up and I go, hey, we've done it. And she didn't actually sound very surprised. She's like, oh sweet, okay, I'll come be your architect. So I think there's something in there about keeping those dreams alive by giving them a voice, giving them energy, talking about them to people who aren't going to poo-poo them, and living as if, well, I mean, it's going to happen because we've been talking about it for 6 years, and then back it. Yeah, Mike, that's absolutely right. My coach said that to me. He said, your success is inevitable. And then he smiled, and knowing me, and said, it's just about how long you're going to drag it out. How difficult are you going to make it,
I guess the reason the why drives you is like, some people wake up in the morning and their why is, well, I have to feed my family, or I have to feed myself, or I have to pay my mortgage, I have to pay my car payments. That's your why. And so the how, you don't have to think about the how, but you just need to ask a better and bigger why. And if you're, instead of being motivated by fear, if you're motivated by possibility, or this really lights me up, because people drag themselves to work and do a mediocre job. But if you've got a big wow that lights you up and you're passionate about, you'll work till 3 o'clock in the morning and it won't feel like you're working. Musicians are a perfect example. They'll drive for 6 hours to play a gig for 45 minutes, and they'll love every minute. They'll lug their gear, they'll get paid nothing. But there's an audience there that's never heard their music, and they get up on that stage and they feel that audience, and that's the feeling, and they're having a good time, and that's the why. So.
How do you get there, though? Is it something you're born with, or is someone encouraging you early on to live your life like this?
I ultimately think there's a dormant seed in everybody, and I did so many things myself, searching for what is the meaning of life. That was an interesting question I used to ask everyone. I met a stoner one day who gave me the absolute best answer, and he said, the meaning of life is different for every person. Your meaning of life is different to my meaning of life. And it's basically, what lights you up? What makes you happy? And I got a I played my guitar in front of an audience once, and I got blown away by the energy and the people asking for more, and I just realized straight away, this is my thing. What makes you feel the best? What are you most happy? So what would you do for free? What would you pay lots of money to do? And people, people have. So for me, it was performing in front of people, but it was really about making people happy. I mean, it's infectious. You do what you love, and other people love it. It's like, and then you get paid for it. It's like the ultimate. So that's what happened to me.
And then does it build on that? Because you said once you put that out there, once you make your intentions clear and sort of out loud, you say them out loud, things start to happen.
Well, there's no going back when you've said it. You can't pretend you didn't say it. And if you say it to someone who cares about you and they're enrolling you in it, it snowballs a bit. With the TV show, I mentioned it to a woman who I know, but not very, very well. I didn't know her very well at the time. And I was going through a hard time because my sister was diagnosed with cancer, and I had no goals. For the first time in my life, I had no goals or wasn't working on anything. And she gently was saying, well, what would you do if you could do anything? And I thought, oh God, I do this for people. Now she's doing it to me. That's annoying. And I just whispered to her, well, I'd have a TV show, for no reason. There's no logical reason to do it. I just thought it would be cool. And that manifested so quickly, like within a fortnight. The opportunity was wide open. And, it is this stuff of just being willing to say it.
And you touched upon logic.
Yeah.
When we apply logic to that small whisper or that thing that lights you up, that excitement.
Crushes it completely. And one of the quotes that I really love is Einstein's imagination is more powerful than knowledge, because we know, in inverted commas, our logic knows that we can't be rich, or we can't be famous, or we can't be loved, or we can't be on the stage, or we can't be a rocket scientist. Our logic knows all these things that you can't do that, but your imagination, secretly, maybe I can be all these things and more. So really, a big part, I think, of creating your happiness is overcoming the kind of pull of your circle that well-meaning say, oh, look, honey, that's not for you. I don't want you to have a hard life, or I don't want you to, I don't want it to be difficult. My mum literally thought, oh, that child will never be happy, because I was trying so hard to do so many things, and I think if you're searching, probably a lot of the road doesn't look that happy to other people,
And you talked about fear holding people back, but that fear of disappointment, you just touched on that.
Well, exactly what Cath was just saying about parents want you to be safe. They don't want you to be happy. I mean, they don't want you to be disappointed. And so they will much rather you be safe. But the problem is, I had a 9-to-5 career, amazing career job, paying a fortune, and I hated it. I was safe, but I was miserable. And all of the things that my parents said were happiness was not my happiness. Just like that stoner said, your meaning of life is different to someone else's meaning of life. It's whatever turns you on is what's going to make you happy. So you've got to search, be a seeker, find something that really, your emotional guidance system. We talk about the emotional barometer, but they talk about it in The Secret a lot. Your emotional guidance system is great. So if you're doing something and you're going, why am I doing this? Or I'm hating it. Like I was sitting in a day job hating it. That's your emotional guidance system saying, dude, get out of here. Like, your soul will die. It's in The Alchemist too. But if you start doing things that you love, it becomes a virtuous circle. Your energy attracts other energy, and it's not about being safe, having a plan B. A plan B will make you miserable. It's about pursuing something. I'm not saying about being reckless. If it scares and excites you, you should do it. If it just plain scares you, you shouldn't do it. That's what I believe.
There are two different kinds of fear, according to ancient Hebrew. One is yirah, and one is pahad. And yirah is that fear that you feel when you're in the presence of something divine. You're at the precipice of something important, and it exhilarates and terrifies you at the same time.
Exactly. And that's it. So, and that's your emotional guidance system again. I mean, fear and anticipation and excitement. It's almost the exact same emotion. But there are certain things like, I mean, jumping into a shark tank just plain sheer terrifies me, really. And I wouldn't do it. But jumping off, doing bungee jumping scares and excites me. Standing up on a stage in front of 40,000 people scares and excites me at the same time. So I should do it, Putting myself in trying to stand in front of a car and play chicken or something just plain scares me. So I think there's a emotional guidance system there that tells you if you're loving it and it excites you and it scares you at the same time, do it. If you don't, if it just plain scares you, don't do it. Like, tell you what, having a day job scares the shit out of me.
I think when people think about arriving at happiness, so for a start, I think that people think it's a destination, but I think wrapped up in that is the idea that I'll never be scared again, I'll never be lonely again, I'll never be anxious again, I'll never be any of these things again, and actually nothing could be further from the truth. So, we are full tilt ahead in pursuit of an entire dream that we set up, and there's been a lot of happiness along the way, but we've been terrified, been exhausted, we've been short-tempered, we've been physically exhausted, been all sorts of things that you think, well, I don't really want to go there, but it's the whole yin and yang thing. You're not going to have that kind of bliss and accomplishment and all these things that you want to have if you're not prepared to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes. I think happiness is being willing to feel all of those emotions and know that you're just fine.